Unity supports two scripting languages, C# and JavaScript. C# is the more popular of the two and is used by most professionals in the game industry. JavaScript is good if you are already familiar with the syntax of it. Both languages can be used by beginners, intermediate, or advanced game developers. We will use both languages in the tutorials here at softwarevideo.com. Syntax refers to the structure of statements in a scripting language. Just as different languages like English, Spanish, and Russian all have different words and grammatical structures, but can be used for a common purpose of communication, C# and JavaScript use different words and structures to add functionality to game objects. It is usually best to write a game in one language or the other. Problems can arise if you write some scripts in C# and some in JavaScript, and then run them in the same project. Let's look at the anatomy of a script. We have now our script 2 open, and this here is actually a C# script file. At the top here, you'll see that we have these two using statements. Now, if you're familiar with programming languages such as Python, these are the same thing as import statements. Using basically links our code to other libraries that are available to it. Here, we're linking it to Unity, the Unity engine, and also system.collections. Please note that if we go to any script, we'll see that both of these imports are up there by default. I didn't change anything. This is the default configuration of the script that I'm taking you through. So you can see this if you create a new script in your Unity project and follow along. And remember, we're working here in C# for this particular tutorial. Now, this public keyword means that this class will be accessible to other classes. But for now, we're not going to worry about that. We're just going to worry about, why do we have this syntax here? So each of these words that you see, public, class, script2, even this colon, okay, has a meaning. For example, this colon means that script2 is actually inheriting from mono behavior. In other words, script2 is a mono behavior script. Now, you'll also see that another key element of the syntax are these brackets here. To encapsulate this class, you'll see that there is one open curly bracket at the beginning of the class and one at the end. It's important that you don't lose track of these brackets, accidentally delete one, or add one extra, or you'll get an error. We'll look later at some common ways to debug common errors and how to make the full use of our Unity game engine so that we can use all of the debugging tools and features available to us. Also, you'll note here that Unity provides us with some comments. A comment in scripting is something that's meant for the viewer or the coder, but it's not meant for the actual computer to interpret. You'll note that using these two forward slashes and then following it with whatever the comment is, grays out the line that you're on. You'll notice that if we try to gray out this line between two forward slashes, we've grayed this line out. That means that Unity won't be able to tell what this means. But I'm going to get rid of that just so that we don't have any problems here. Comments are good for when you want to communicate to yourself or other programmers and make notes within your program, but you don't want the computer to try to interpret this as code. That's just another example of differences in syntax. Here, comments are usually written in the English language or any language that you're writing in, whereas the computer is actually interpreting computer code in its own computer language. In this class, it's C#. In this case, it's C#. And the two functions provided to us by default are start and update. Now we can add things inside of these functions and also up here after our class definition. But we'll get to that in a later tutorial. For now, it's just important that you recognize the anatomy of our code file, and you'll note that this file currently has 16 lines. So you'll notice that we have all these different syntax elements here. We'll be looking at those deeper in a later tutorial.